as they try to consolidate their numbers ahead of the fresh presidential elections in the next about 15 days. That's about 2 weeks from now. Now, the report on contentious electoral laws changes is set to be tabled in Parliament this afternoon. Members of the Select Committee that held public hearings on the laws went on a retreat over the weekend to prepare the report. The opposition, NASA, has vehemently opposed the law changes. And to shed more light on the story, we're now joined by our senior parliamentary reporter, Patrick Amimo. But before we speak to Amimo, let's just cross over to the Parliament pressing where ODM chairperson John Mbadi is currently speaking about these proposed changes on electoral laws. Let's listen in.
Transact their businesses independently, especially legislation. Bills of parliament are supposed to be introduced in one house of parliament. Once it is introduced in one house of parliament, say the Senate or National Assembly, it should be transacted in that particular House of Parliament to its conclusion, then referred to the next House of Parliament or the second House of Parliament. That is why we have Article 110, Article 111, Article 112, and Article 113 of the Constitution, creating even a mediation committee in the event the two houses don't agree on a uniform version of the bill. A situation where before the bill is even introduced for second reading in the House, that you constitute or purportedly constitute a joint committee between the Senate and the National Assembly to agree on a bill after the first reading is unconstitutional. That is not the spirit of the why Kenyans created the two chambers of parliament. And I want to urge the two speakers of parliament, the speakers of both houses, that they should do this country justice by doing the right thing. There are criminal activities going on in these two houses of parliament. Criminal, because when you take action, which is basically staging a coup on our constitution, then what you are involving is nothing less than criminal. We want to urge the two speakers that the process that has been going on, purportedly, that we have a joint committee of parliament debating and agreeing on a version of a bill that has not been debated in either of the chambers, is irregular, is unconstitutional. But I want to also remind Kenyans, those who have forgotten, that even in the last parliament, 11th parliament, we took almost 2 months without committees of parliament. The reason being that we, in court then, had objected to allowing Jubilee, which was in government, to chair Public Accounts Committee and Public Investments Committee. Before that matter was resolved, we could not even form committees of parliament because for you to constitute a committee of parliament, both sides of the House must be members of that committee. I hear our colleagues talk about quorum, that they have a quorum, they can proceed. You cannot even talk of a quorum before you constitute a committee legally. Therefore, the committees that are being constituted in parliament, be it House Business Committee, be it the Selection Committee, or the so-called ad hoc committees dealing with electoral laws and the supplementary budget, in our view, and that I think is the position of the law, are all unconstitutional, irregular, and should stop operation forthwith. You cannot run a democracy without involving other parties or other players. That is the sense. Even when you go to America, the budget sometimes takes long to pass because both sides of parliament have not agreed. So it is all, democracy is all about talking and negotiating and discussing and agreeing on the way forward. You cannot just do it through autocracy, through dictatorship that has been imported now to parliament from State House. It is unacceptable, and we are not going to accept it. So the position of NASA, as it is, two issues that you can take home. Number one, that our members have been de-whipped from the National Assembly and the Senate for this afternoon sitting and any other sitting discussing these two pieces of legislation. That is the position of the coalition, that no member of NASA would be required would be allowed to attend Parliament, we have de-whipped our members from both National Assembly and the Senate, and that is the official position. Number two, that NASA principals will issue a statement today at 4, which statement we invite the media to attend by making yourself available at Okoa Kenya offices this evening for way forward. Otherwise, I want to allow Senator Kilonzo Jr. to speak on behalf of the Senate so that you can know that this was really a joint PG and not National Assembly PG. Then after that, that will be, you will be, Senator Mutula will elect. I don't know whether we have questions you wanted to address before or you ask the questions later. After we are done. So let me allow Senator Mutula Kilonzo, sorry. I don't know why I called you Musila. Mutula Kilonzo. Have I grown that old? I think I'm missing Musila because he was my colleague chair. I know. Yes. But let's have Senator. We can move a bit. We move this a bit. No, I think it will capture his voice. It's a voice that we need. It's not the board.
Our friends first. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the press and the public, thank you. I reiterate the comments of my colleague and minority leader of the National Assembly. After due consideration and debate amongst ourselves, we have decided not to participate in a process which in law we call stillborn. It is a process that began illegally, it is a process that is going on illegally, and it can only produce an illegal result. Contrary to popular opinion and rhetoric in public, that this process in both the National Assembly and the Senate is an attempt to comply with the order of the Supreme Court. It is a lie. It is a white lie. It quacks like a duck, and it looks like a duck, and it talks like a duck. And it is a duck. This law is an attempt to overturn the ruling of the Supreme Court. There is no way that we can have a situation that a returning officer from Garissa or Abaswen or Lungalunga or Mtito Andei is going to walk to Nairobi for purposes of tallying, and we say that we have reformed this country. We cannot change the position of the chairman of the IEBC midway. It's basic logic and law. You cannot change a quorum to become equal. It's basic logic and law. So we speak with good authority, and if you have any doubt, ask Otiende Amolo seated next to me, that this is an illegal process. Any Kenyan has a right to go to court and find this process to have been illegal. I've raised the objection that there is nowhere where you have a bicameral system and one bill is debated and tabled simultaneously. And what is even of worse contradiction is that the person who tabled the bill in the National Assembly says it doesn't concern counties. The one who tabled it in the Senate says it concerns counties. At what point did these two committees meet? Because they didn't meet during the day and during Senate hours to agree on a joint select committee. So what then will be the purpose of us attending? Most of us were of the view at some point that we should go and argue our positions, but we are going to leave this to the public. That 15 days to the next elections, we are not going to participate in a process where the Jubilee government is shifting the goalposts of an election. And the candidate is the person to assent to the law. Tumesema kiumane. Yes. Na liwe liwalo. Kama mbaya, mbaya. Bas, noma ni noma. But the point is, Kenyans, that we are doing this for your sake. I sat in Windsor together with Honorable Mishimboko, who is standing right behind me, to provide a system that will give you a simple, accurate, and accountable election. Paragraph 400 of the Supreme Court ruling majority say so, that we did so. We want to tell Jubilee that we will not allow this. This country belongs to all of us. They will not bulldoze us. We will not agree to mekata ngo na wajue. That is why we have decided, although some of us wanted to participate in this debate, to say this, what we are saying on the floor, but we are now saying it for everybody to hear. And we are not taking these matters lightly. We don't take matters of law lightly. We don't take our roles as legislators lightly. We were elected to participate in lawmaking. But this is not lawmaking. This is what we call a kangaroo court, where hyenas decide on an issue about Mbuzi. This is not something we are going to allow. So therefore, members of the public, on behalf of the senators in the Senate, I want to say that that is the statement. Read it as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to ask Honorable Tiende, who is going to deal with this other matter, because